भी हो, इस लक्ष्य को लेकर हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं.
Okay, that's the Prime Minister. By the way, the all-important AGR case hearing is underway in the Supreme Court, and the first relief seems to be coming in for all the government-run companies because the government seems to be withdrawing. That's what the Solicitor General is saying in court, that since the PSUs are not in the business of telecom services, we are withdrawing these demands. So see the reaction coming in on some of the stocks like Power Grid, like Oil India. We should pull up all of these intraday charts because we're seeing a rise coming over there. Kritika Saxena is here. Kritika, we are just beginning to get the first set of flashes, but it seems, I mean, with the government withdrawing its contention, it seems, at least for the moment, some relief for PSUs.
Well, definitive relief for PSUs because last time around the Supreme Court had very unequivocally said that this doesn't stand, and they had asked the Department of Telecom to go back and to reconsider the AGR demand that had been quoted for public sector units. Now, let me just start quoting what has happened so far. As you were pointing out, the AGR hearing has begun with the Solicitor General representing the Department of Telecom telling the Supreme Court that since public sector units are not in the business of telecom services, we are withdrawing demands. Now, remember, in the last hearing, Justice Mishra had very clearly said that it is unfair for PSUs to be given these demands and to pay to the tune of 4 lakh plus crore rupees dues in terms of AGR, as they're not in the business of telecom service. And that's exactly what the Solicitor General is now telling the Supreme Court, that we are now withdrawing the demands. He is continuing to talk at this point in time. Ashmit Kumar, my colleague, is sending us live updates, and as we had done last time as well, we're going to be bringing our viewers live updates from the court. At this point in time, Solicitor General is telling the Supreme Court that we have received affidavits from telecom operators on their securities. Government can go back and consider the submissions by telecom. This is a very critical point. Now, remember, two things had been directed by the Supreme Court. One was for the Department of Telecom to go back and reconsider their plea as far as the public sector unit AGR dues were concerned. That has been withdrawn. The second point was the Supreme Court telling the telecom operators to file a reply with the timeline, with the roadmap and the securities that they can offer with respect to the AGR dues. Now, in context to that, the Solicitor General has said that we have received all the affidavits. The telecom operators have submitted securities as well. The government can go back and consider the submission that has been sent in by telecom operators. So essentially, they are effectively asking for more time. Now, for Airtel, the Airtel Council, that is Abhishek Manu Singhvi, has said that he is arguing at this point in time. He has said that we have already paid 18,000 crore rupees. As per us, only about 1,000 crore rupees is pending. Now, remember, the telecom operators had done a self-assessment. So they're talking about that over here. He says that we have fully complied with demand as per our understanding. So this is Abhishek Manu Singhvi, the counsel for Airtel, arguing at this point in time. Now, let me quickly go back to the 2 points that we need to remember that have come in so far. One is that public sector unit demand as far as AGR is concerned can be withdrawn. The second point is the Solicitor General has told Supreme Court that we have received affidavits from telecom operators on securities, and we need to now go back and review the securities that the telecom operators have submitted. So, in effect, it does seem like they are seeking some more time, but at this point in time, we have seen the Telecom Operators Council begin their arguments. So, for now, the Airtel Council is arguing, and Ashmit is sending us live updates as we speak. Okay, we have more details. He's also indicating that Bharti's payment of AGR dues constitutes 70% of the total amount collected so far by the DOT. So, there's a lighter vein point that Ashmit has sent us. Judges at this point in time are of course in the court. Let's quickly reiterate. Okay, the argument of Abhishek Manu Singhvi is continuing. We have spectrum of 1.12 lakh crore rupees have licenses and bank guarantees which are in excess of the demands that have been made. Now remember, the security that had been asked, even last time the telecom operators had said that we can give security by way of spectrum and license. So over here they're quantifying it, and that amount is very critical. We have spectrum to the tune of 1.12 lakh crore rupees. This is specifically Bharti Airtel's counsel arguing. We have licenses and bank guarantees which are far in excess of the demands made. So the two things that had been asked were bank guarantee and personal guarantees, and if at all telcos are willing to give it, here the council is saying that we have bank guarantees, licenses and spectrum which altogether are in excess of the demands that have been made of the AGR. We endorse the suggestion by Solicitor General to consider our proposal. That's very, very important over here. So let me just reiterate again what Abhishek Manu Singhvi is arguing in favor of Airtel. One is that they believe that Bharti's payment of AGR dues constitutes 70% that has been totally constituted. They have spectrum worth 1.12 lakh crore rupees and licenses as well as bank guarantees which are far in excess of the demands made, and they are endorsing the suggestion by the Solicitor General to consider our proposal. I'm just going to get our guests in as well. We are just bringing in our guests, but I want to just read out everything that Abhishek Manu Singhvi is arguing at this point. Okay, bank guarantees of 10,800 crore rupees is already pending with the Department of Telecom. So what they're saying is, at this point in time, they're not talking about the fresh bank guarantees that had been sought. They are saying that bank guarantees to the tune of 10,800 crore rupees is already pending with the Department of Telecom, and these can be encashed if Airtel defaults on these payments. So there are three things that they are giving by way of security: spectrum to the tune of 1.12 lakh crore rupees, license as well as bank guarantees which are already pending with the Department of Telecom, and that's worth 10,800 crore rupees. These can be encashed if Airtel defaults on payments. This again, the Airtel Council arguing at this point in time to the Supreme Court. Let's bring in our guests as well. Again, for the viewers that are just joining in, just to reiterate over here, the AGR hearing is in Supreme Court at this point in time. Our colleague Ashmit Kumar is in the court giving us live updates. So you can follow us on Twitter, and of course we'll be bringing you live details on right here on cnbc TV 18 as well. We have Sanjay Kapoor joining in. Mr. Kapoor, the arguments are still ongoing, but what do you make of the initial set of arguments? One point that the counsel for Airtel is saying is that the bank guarantees that are already pending with the Department of Telecom, they can be encashed if Airtel defaults on the spectrum. What do you make on bank guarantee pending with DOT being given as security over here?
I think this is very much on the expected lines. If you recall the last argument that happened, I think operators were pretty clear that they have made some submissions of the AGR dues, which is on self-calculation, and the balance that spectrum should be considered as security and their existing bank guarantees should be. So I think from their side, they will try and justify that. Now the matter is sub judice. It will not be correct on my part to even utter a word. But the courts have to see whether that's palatable, that's okay with them, or it's not okay with them. But as far as operators are concerned, clearly the fact that they have listed companies and the structure of the company is such that personal guarantees are not something that they will be in favor of. And, therefore, they will try to justify their grounds on these. And to be honest, these are real assets. These are not going anywhere. I was just listening to the Prime Minister on Atmanirbhar Bharat. And one of the key things that you require for Atmanirbhar Bharat is infrastructure. And physical infrastructure, we know, has been a constraint. We are developing it. But virtual infrastructure is something that we have very solidly built over last so many years. And therefore, there's a value to be accorded to that virtual infrastructure. And that virtual infrastructure rides extensively on spectrum. And that has to be seen as a resource that is bankable resource.
Mr. Kapoor, just to interrupt you on that point, Mukul Rohatgi, the Council for Vodafone Idea, is arguing now. What he says is very critical, as we have been pointing out, and our brokerages have been saying, Vodafone Idea is in a very different position than Bharti Airtel financially. What he says is that it's extremely precarious as far as the position for Vodafone Idea is concerned. We are not in a position to give any fresh bank guarantee. The parent company has written off investment. I'm quoting Mukul Rohatgi. The parent company has written off investment. My losses are over 1 lakh crore is what I would assume as far as guarantees are concerned. Over 10,000 crore rupees of bank guarantees are lying with the Department of Telecom, and they should be considered as security. So Mukul Rohatgi, the Council for Vodafone Idea, making a very similar point that the Bharti Airtel Council had made. He's saying that there, at this point in time, 10,000 crore rupees of bank guarantees are lying with the Department of Telecom, and that should be considered as security. But as far as the personal guarantee bit is concerned, as we were pointing out earlier, Supreme Court had asked for personal guarantee by the promoters and directors as well as bank guarantees. Over here, he's saying that the parent company has written off investment, and there are